Pistol with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Robert Taylor Jr. will lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Dear gracious, eternal God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this day's blessing. We thank you for things being as well as they are. We ask that you bless the families that are going through, that are dealing with death, and bless our servicemen. And we ask that you bless this board and lead us and guide us in the way in which we should go. This is our prayer in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next item on agenda, roll call. Please show all present tonight. Next item on agenda, approval of minutes from January 19th, 2016. Entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Carolyn.
Second.
Second from Robert. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Any unfinished business? New business. Under new business, attorney invoice. Attorney invoice was attached in amount of $6,543.75. We'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So move.
Motion from Robert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bob Kirk. Any discussion?
I got a question, a couple of questions, Mayor, please.
Okay.
On page 1, concerning the delinquent taxpayer sale,
Yes, sir.
that according to Mr. Lanham attended, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
Was that, how many were there, do you know how many and what the sale number was and what revenue was produced as a result of that sale?
Bob Jones attended it. It was a month or so ago. You remember the numbers?
And Alderman Kirk, I really can't remember those figures right off the top of my head, but there were, 5 or 6 to 10 maybe in that area of properties that we purchased that were delinquent sales properties, and
You know how far back it goes? I mean, was it a year or 2 or 3 or 5?
It would be 2 years prior.
2 years prior.
Yes, sir.
5 or 6 pieces of property. But
Correct.
you don't know how much was produced as a result of the sale.
Right, but there's no income off of those properties. That's an expense for the city.
Okay, but
Right.
it's not a sale for delinquents, for others? I mean,
It was those individuals who were delinquent in paying their 2013 tax responsibilities and obligations. And so it was sold at the December 2015 tax sale.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Page 3, do the police department, and it's concerning communications between Chief Isabel and an ACLU. Are we in some kind of confrontation with the that group ACLU, or can you talk about that? Or
I think the chief can speak to a little bit. We're not in confrontation with all. We're trying to not be in confrontation with them. So the chief can speak to that too a little bit, I guess.
all right.
The ACLU, over the last several months, sent out a mass request for departments who have a body camera program for their officers. There's a number of questions they wanted answered. Worked through the Tennessee Chiefs Association, because all departments across the state have received this request. And of course, we do not currently have a body camera program, so we did not have to answer those questions. There's a survey that was attached, and I chose not to answer that survey at this time, as we're not required. And that was the advice from the Chiefs Association to all departments across the state, if they did not have that body cam program. So
they're requesting whatever progress we're making, or if we're making it on the body camera.
There was a list of things from policy to the manufacturer to the bids. There was a host of questions to be answered if you have a body camera policy, have body camera in place.
Yeah. I noticed there's been some publicity on body cameras in other areas that there's a whole lot more to the program than the public seemed to be aware of in the beginning. And so as a result of that, it's got to be carefully evaluated, and it's going to be quite a long-term proposition to purchase and get them in position and to back up and do all the things that'll be necessary in order to avoid further complications. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, and if I may, we're certainly not resisting body cameras. I think they have their place in law enforcement, but it's going to take a lot of not only study to determine which camera that we will eventually, if we choose to go there, what type of camera system we'll use, but we're looking at substantial cost, not only to purchase the cameras themselves, but the storage, personnel that's going to have to go in to meet public requests. A lot of information will have to be redacted. There's another big issue in regards to privacy, and there's currently legislation being discussed about body cameras, and our concern throughout the state with the Chiefs Association, excuse me, is the privacy issue. And just briefly explain that. If an officer responds to someone's residence, it could be something as simple as a vandalism. The officer goes into the home. Of course, policy is going to be if an officer has citizen contact to turn the camera on. When they go into your home, the camera is running. Your children are in the home doing homework, doing whatever they're doing, and the officer's there just for simple vandalism. Anyone that sees the police there, or if they want to get footage of that, all they have to do is come to the police department and request it because it's open to public record. So there's a lot of issues with the privacy, and we're working hard across the state with our legislators and stuff, and actually we'll be there this week discussing a lot of legislative issues regarding the cameras. So there's a lot of work to be done on that. And again, we're not resistant to this. It can be a great tool, but there's so much more to it than what's being portrayed out into the...
There are a lot of other issues other than just the initial cost, which is pretty expensive, as I understand. Right?
Exactly right. And we'll have to partner with the District Attorney General's office. If you kept up with the issues in Memphis, that's been one of the big issues with the Memphis Police Department, because you're talking 2,000 plus officers. That's a lot of data. We have 58 officers. That's going to be a lot of data in a 10-hour shift.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of data to be there, and we'll have to work. It's going to have to be a joint effort with the DA's office here before we step into that program.
And much more manpower, I'm assuming, to decipher and to store and to deal with all the issues that come up as a result
Absolutely.
of that information that you've got stored somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank
Mayor,
you.
have one other comment about the on the attorney's bill. On page 4, the property maintenance ordinance violation.
Yes, sir.
City court's appearance from property maintenance violation. Are we getting a lot of those that are winding up in court, and what kind of type violations of this ordinance? Do you have some idea about what they're talking about?
Well, we pass out, and I'm sorry, you got it on your desk tonight, the code violations for the month of January 2016. We have violations every month. For the month of January, you'll see we had 42 complaints. We issued 2 citations, people come to city court, and that could range from unlicensed vehicles in the back of the yard that have not been moved. It can range from debris on the porch. It can range from debris in the front yard, unsanitary conditions. So just numerous violations within our property maintenance codes that we have that we enforce. We certainly try to work with the people. We send them a letter, you know the drill. We send them a letter, we give them 10 days to clean it up. Our guys check on it. If they're making progress on it, we let them do that. If they don't, they're cited to court. So those are what you see on the attorney invoice.
So some of them are resolved, and the others, we wound up in court on 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them, I noticed, according to the legal bill. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We try to resolve them as much as possible without going to court. There was a case not too long ago that we had a bad situation in the neighborhood, and the gentleman refused to clean up, and he said he'd see us in court, and we saw him in court. The judge ruled in our favor, and he's in the process of cleaning it up.
So the decisions are pretty much in court. The judge's decision is they are a violation of the property maintenance ordinance, and
Yes, sir.
they're resolved in that manner.
Yes, sir. If they come to court, the judge will order him to get it cleaned up a certain amount of time. If he doesn't, he can be fined.
Give him a certain amount of time.
Yes, sir. Then he has to come back to court once that's done, and we have to testify or give proof that it has been taken care of.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Any other questions? Have a motion and a second for the attorney invoice. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, bids. Greg Williams. We have no bids tonight. The next two items is notice of public hearing, item C and D. The first one, item C, notice of public hearing. It will be held on March 7th, 2016. Ordinance number BB 646, an ordinance to amend the text of the Dyersburg Municipal Zoning Ordinance to amend fencing and screening regulations for solar farms and accessory solar collection systems. And item D, it's notice of public hearing to be held March 7th, 2016, which is ordinance number BB 647, in ordinance to amend the text of the Dyersburg Municipal Zoning Ordinance to amend regulations for fences, walls, and hedges. Both of these items were discussed at the last Planning Commission meeting. It was approved at the Planning Commission. The next step is for us to give notice of public hearing, and then we will have that hearing on March 7th to discuss those two ordinances. I'd entertain a motion to approve having that public hearing.
So moved.
Motion from Bob Kirk, is there a second? Second from Kevin Chaney. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, report from Alderman. Bob Kirk.
Yes, Mayor. A question about the action that's taken by this board to take proposals for the operation of the golf course. Is that, you have a date or a time when they're supposed to be back in, or
Yes, sir. It's this Friday.
this Friday?
This Friday proposals are due back. It was advertised in the State Gazette probably 10 days ago. And we have had some inquiries from around the country about that, so Friday's the deadline.
There is some interest in it.
Yes, sir.
Another question is, we've received notification from the Comptroller's Office about the approval of our loan,
Yes, sir, we have.
and that's done.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've been looking over the financials that we got last meeting, I guess, for 6 months. It'd be possible for us to have a finance committee meeting and go into a little more detail on some of these numbers at
Sure.
some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we can get the chairman to call one at some point.
Yeah, be more than happy to do that.
Okay, all right. The only other thing is, on newsflash this afternoon, that Congressman Fincher is not going to seek re-election, so I think that's very interesting because he's represented this area and the West Tennessee area for 3 terms, and he's done a good job, and I just think that should be of some vital concern for us and this community in this area of whoever seeks to represent us next term. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Mr. Glover?
I don't have anything.
Kevin?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Mike?
No, sir.
Dennis? Nothing. Ms. Carolyn?
No, sir.
Robert?
Don't have anything.
And Mr. Kirk asked all the questions, I guess, right?
I
With
thought
that,
that's
we're
what I got
adjourned.
paid
Thank
for.
you.
Did I get paid for that?
He cut you off.